The whole of social media is singing the name of Ndindi Nyoro, the Kiharu legislator. When you go to TikTok, it is just Ndindi Nyoro. Well, it is very clear that something very major has happened in our country called Kenya. And this time it is not bad news. This time it is not something to fire barbs against. No. Long-suffering Kenyans have finally been treated after a very long time to something positive, something that makes an impact on society. But then the story of Ndindi Nyoro should not just be analyzed on the surface. No. I'll make a confession. I have never liked Ndindi Nyoro. Yeah? And it is because we all know how you meet somebody, the circumstances under which you meet somebody dictates your relationship after that, what you feel about them. And of course, we all know how Ndindi Nyoro first came to the limelight. Okay? As a leading, very noisy, very vocal member of Team Tangatanga. Yeah, and of course, we all know that Team Tangatanga is now the government, and Kenyans are suffering everywhere. So those are the circumstances. Stay with me for more on that. But still, despite all that, what these young Kiharu legislators achieved has shaken the nation of Kenya to the core. And you see, unfortunately, it is in our dark history. Any politician, any person who is genuinely for the good of their people, they normally end up, haraka sana, ends up being a marked man. Wanakuwa kwa hatari kubwa sana. And we don't even have to go outside Kiharu for the perfect example. My all-time favorite politician, Kenneth Stanley Ndindi Matiba, the real father of multi-party democracy, not Baba. It was Matiba, because it was Matiba who first called a press conference in Nairobi, CBD, and called for a return to multi-party politics. The KANU government at that time was so shocked that initially they did not react because they could not believe it. Matiba was the father of multi-party democracy. But how did Matiba end up? A man who sacrificed his entire business empire for a better Kenya. A man who sacrificed his personal comfort. Oh, Matiba, continue resting in peace. Gallant, great, patriotic son of Kenya. Oh, Lord God Almighty, give us another Matiba soon. Anyway, my apologies for getting emotional. How did Matiba end up? How did he end up? If you don't know, please do your own research. Mambo yake haikuisha vizuri. Okay? Friends, this thing of ending people who are genuinely concerned about the people and actually achieve something for the ordinary people of Kenya, the downtrodden, walalahoi. We must end this thing of making those people marked people. We need to change our country very urgently. Anyway, before we start our business for today, I have a small surprise for you. Okay, a real treat in my opinion. And it is a surprise. But let me give you a hint. In my opinion, Muranga by now should have produced a president. Okay, because Muranga has so many brilliant sons and daughters. But there is a story from the foundation. Yeah, initially it was called Mbiri, and then the Mzungus called it Fort Hall. There is a story in its foundation that may actually solve that mystery of why it would seem politically Muranga is jinxed. Stay with me, and I'm sure you'll not regret it taking this in. But for now, let's get down to business. Twende kazi. I have always been more than a little suspicious about Ndindi Nyoro and his alleged falling out with William Ruto or President Ruto. Okay? I've always suspected, let me just confess today, I have always suspected that ametumwa aende kutafuta kura which will be handed over to Ruto during the 2027 presidential elections, either by desire of the voters or by pop, 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 they can be snatched away, during tallying votes. And what has heightened my suspicions is that this man called Rigiji is always being attacked by goons, of course sent by the government. But Ndindi Nyoro has never been on the receiving end of anything like that. That has heightened my suspicions. Anyway, I just hope from the bottom of my heart that I am wrong. Okay? Still, having said all that, what this Bwana Nyoro has achieved in Kiharu, nobody can take that away from him. It is unprecedented. Imagine high school, day secondary schools. The fees for the whole term is 500 bob. Now it has been a very long time before I've hit mtaani in Nairobi, amongst the Walalahoi. But I suspect, but I'm not sure if it is possible with 500 bob to get a good nyama choma treat for 2 people. I don't think it is possible anymore in the city of the sun. Please correct me, okay? But that is the fees now for a whole term in Kiharu constituency. 12,000 schools. Hey. Now, let's look at the impact of that. You see, Kenyans were used to, we are planning to metenga, to mepanga, next year we will do, next year, next month, after 2 years it will be completed. We're used to that kind of narrative. But here comes a politician who does not talk about vile amepanga, vile ametenga. He only comes to speak to us when he has achieved, when he has delivered. Oh, my friends, the impact of that. That is why social media cannot stop talking about this person. And even worse for the UDA government is that now people are comparing Ndindi Nyoro to the Ruto government. The Ruto government promises and what Ndindi Nyoro has already delivered. Well, I can tell you, the immediate impact is that MPs right across the nation called Kenya are in very big trouble. Because as we speak, constituents are asking, huyo mtu alifanya hivyo uko Kiharu kwa Wakikuyu. Where is our MP? What is he doing? Just getting fat on his salary. Alafu anatuma michango kwa funerals. No, this cannot happen. So MPs are in serious trouble. Indeed, the achievement of this legislator in Kiharu will speed up the draining of the swamp. All these politicians in parliament, most of them, a vast majority, maybe over 99%, will go home. That is really what it is. Because Nyoro has shown Kenyans it can be done. And with very little money. Pesa kidogo, akili nyingi. Just a little money and lots of brains can achieve you a lot. Now you see story Ajaba, we have seen it happening right before our eyes. Now I find it super fascinating that Bwana Nyoro has had very humble beginnings. He himself was a victim of lacking school fees. Indeed, when he had to go into high school, there was a problem. The good school where he had gained admission because of his good performance, he could not go. Why? There was no way his parents could afford the fees. And so he was sent to another school where a relative was the headmaster and could therefore organize, facilitate for more flexible payment of school fees. So this man has been a victim. All his life, he has hustled to get by. And you see, his father did not even support him. Because one day, he started like a small shop in the village. You know what happened? The father went and bought the entire stock and told him, go and study, focus on study, forget about business. And during school holidays, to supplement the meager family earnings, his mother was a peasant farmer and his dad a carpenter. To supplement the income of the family, Ndindi Nyoro alichoma makaa. He got involved in making charcoal, and he was even a hawker, selling things on the streets, selling things door to door. And so, bottom line, this is a man who understands what Kenyans, right down there at the bottom, usually go through. How tough survival is for them. And now he has delivered for his people in Kiharu. And he has not delivered the usual rhetoric. We will do. We have done when you have done something very small. He has delivered something very major. 500 bob school fees for an entire term. And that's not all. There is also a feeding program in that 500 bob. Ay, 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 ay. Kenyan politicians, MPs, governors, at His Excellency, Her Excellency, all those people, kwisha maneno. Thanks, Ndindi Nyoro. Asante sana. Now, before we conclude, what I promised you at the beginning, your treat is here. Listen in. I'll be back shortly. I promised to tell you where the name Fort Hall came from. Fort Hall was a Mzungu post, established and built by a jinxed Mzungu called Frank Hall. Now, Frank Hall was definitely jinxed, in my opinion. You won't find that in a history book, but that's my opinion. Why do I say that? You see, Muranga did not like Frank Hall. He would constantly get malaria. If it was not malaria, he had problems with wild animals. In fact, at one point, a rhino, yes, there were rhinos there in those days, a rhino charged at him, and he thought he was very clever. Of course, he had already heard the myth that a rhino cannot stop and turn so quickly. So he waited until the rhino was close to him, and then he got out of the way. But then the rhino stopped and turned back so fast that it hit him to the ground. And he was very lucky, because several attempts by this rhino to try and get its horns into his body failed, because he was lying flat on the ground. But he was injured very badly. But then slowly by slowly, he recovered. Although from then on in his life, he walked with a limp. And then very shortly after that, he was attacked by a leopard. My friends, this is not fiction. It sounds crazy, but it is nothing but the truth. He was attacked by a leopard, and the leopard bit him somewhere on his knees. And it caused such a serious infection that most of the doctors who saw him, their verdict was he would not be able to live through this. And it got so bad that it was decided to take him back to England for treatment. And so he traveled by litter. You know what litter is? I believe you can see one on your screens right now. It is carried by people. In those days, our forefathers and ancestors, Africans. And they carried this litter all the way from Fort Hall at that time to Mombasa. 300 miles, almost 500 kilometers. Where he boarded a ship, went to the UK, received treatment, and ultimately came back to Muranga. What? And constantly getting sick, and constantly getting this or that encounter or that mishap. I'm telling you, this Mzungu was jinxed.
Finally, what got him while he was still in Murang'a was something called dysentery, infection of the intestines. And after he passed on, it was ordered by the Mzungu government to name this post, where this Mzungu had worked so hard and persistently, to name it Fort Hall, which of course today is Murang'a. Now the moral of that story is that I believe spiritually, if Murang'a does not like you, my friend, you're in trouble. I believe that is still the spiritual truth today. And it is something worth noting for politicians. Because during the Kanu days, we had a politician, almost like Ndindi Nyoro, a man called Joseph Kamotho, from this Murang'a area. And things did not end up very well for him. If Murang'a does not like you, ole wewe. Okay?
You know, in the days of my hero, Ken Matiba, this constituency used to be called Mbiri. Mbiri. But these days it is Kiharu. It is right at the heart of Murang'a. Yeah, Kiharu falls within Fort Hall. Yeah, these days Murang'a. Meaning that the whole Murang'a County was founded by this jinxed Mzungu, yeah, at the place which we call today Kiharu. Those who are spiritual, you understand immediately. Congratulations, MP Ndindi Nyoro. All the best. But my friend, watch your back. Now, just a quick reminder, the final golden key offer for a very long time, maybe even forever, is about to end. It is actually going to end on Wednesday, the 14th of January, at exactly midnight, your time, wherever you are in the world. So please take full advantage. You can see details on your screens right now. 4,999 will buy you the golden key for a whole year. You'll receive a lot of sensitive information during that year. And 5,999 will buy you a permanent golden key. It will never expire. Now, I also need to remind you about my latest highly sensitive special report, which is actually a video that sheds new light into the Cyrus Jirongo fiasco. Now, as I said in my previous video, I cannot say very much about this particular footage because it is very, very sensitive. But let me give you a hint, okay? You will see somebody who is very familiar, actually two individuals in that video. One, you see the partial face. One, if you observe their body carefully, you will know who it is. And it is beyond shell shocking that that person was at the scene at that time of the night. Hey. And then, of course, there is the mysterious hand on the passenger door of Jirongo's vehicle, as Muliake is lying down there, on this other side, the driver's side. And people are trying to widen the driver's side. I don't know to do what. Maybe to get better access. But then you ask yourself the question, if somebody else is accessing the passenger side door, why break the driver's side door when you can use the passenger side door very easily to get access? Huh? Hey. Anyway, members of the Golden Key already have this highly sensitive information, and you can join them, okay, by taking advantage of this very latest special offer, the last Golden Key offer. And so if you're in a position, please take action quickly to avoid disappointment. Until next time, this is Chris Kumekucha Karaoke.